everybody, I'm Will, and this is my show, Not The Flog. We were going to call it the Captain's Magical Cod Piece, but it turns out that magic isn't real. Listen, I know that you're used to Hollywood just taking a great thing and rebooting it, which is basically copying it and making it less interesting with handsomer people, but the truth is, it's really hard to find someone who's handsomer than me to do Not The Flog. Okay, so today on Not The Flog, I had this great plan to do something for HALLOWEEK. It was going to be a series of spooky games that are Halloween themed, and it turns out that we did it last year. So you can go watch it if you want, because it turns out that the only spooky game that's been added to my list since last year is Dead of Winter, which we play on TableTop Season 3. Hey, speaking of TableTop Season 3, the whole reason we decided to make this video today was to tell you when TableTop Season 3 premieres. But before I get to that, I think it's important that I address something that is clearly on everyone's mind that I know you're thinking about right now. Will Wheaton, you say to yourself, why are you wearing a Captain Kirk shirt? The answer is, of course, because I own it. Okay, so the Season 3 of Tabletop premiere is coming to you very soon. It is going to be November 13th, and it's very exciting, and I've forgotten what episode we're premiering with, so I'm just going to take a stab in the dark and say that we are starting with a 5-hour epic marathon game of Twilight Imperium. That's not true. We will never play Twilight Imperium on Tabletop. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Twilight Imperium. I don't like 5 hours of Twilight Imperium. You know what I like to do for 5 hours? Mrs. Wheaton. What? I'm going to get in all kinds of trouble for that. Actually, the first game of the season is Tokaido, which is a surprisingly hardcore, everybody hurry up and relax the best kind of game. Before I leave, I just want to throw out a couple of Halloween recommendations to you that I think are pretty freaking great. Number 1, movies that you can watch that are really creepy and eerie, that are perfect for setting the mood if you're going to do some horror themed or like dread filled themed gaming. Go to the Internet Archive and search for a movie called The Golem and search for a movie called Phantoma. These are really cool movies, silent films from the 1920s, and I think one of them is even from before then, that should really put you in the mood for that sort of like dark and stormy night kind of thing. I know what you're saying right now. A dark and stormy night is not a good way to describe anything, and I have to say that people who say that have probably never experienced a dark and stormy night. It's actually quite lovely. It's dark, and it is stormy. It's also the name of a drink that I enjoy. Another really fun thing that you can do to add a little bit of horror and dread and scariness to your Halloween games is to summon spirits to play with you. You can do this by finding some sort of animal, sacrificing it, and then draining its blood into a pentagram on the floor of your game area. It's very important that you make a spherically perfect pentagram, as well as ensuring that you have candles at each point of the star. If any of these precautions are not properly taken, you could very well end up summoning a malevolent spirit, or worse, one of those guys that's a total dick about how your turn order goes and you've summoned a rules lawyer and then you can't make them leave. You know, there are some really genuinely scary video games that you can play. Some of the ones that immediately come to mind are any of the Silent Hill games, and of course the original Dead Space. If you really look below the surface in Animal Crossing and find the metaphors that exist within that game, it's terrifying. You know what else is terrifying in games right now? Being a woman. Here's a fun fact about me. I love Halloween. I do not enjoy candy. So when I go out and trick or treat, I don't do that anymore, I'm 42. Why would I ever do that? When candy seems to find its way into my possession, I'm actually getting tricked and treated at the same time. What do you suppose trick or treat is like in the red light district? Do you think it's confusing because you don't know who's there for candy and who's there for the other thing? You know, producer Nick has just pointed out that in the red light district, the trick is the treat. I'm gonna get letters about that. Some Halloween safety tips from your old pal Will Wheaton. Number 1, a pumpkin does not make a good crash helmet. Number 2, a pillowcase filled with candy doesn't leave any marks. Number 3, The elastic that holds a mask to your face can catch your hair and hurt like the dickens when you pull it off. In order to avoid this sort of pain, take the following precautions. 1. Completely shave your head. 2. Cover your head in lard. 3. Dip your head in hard plastic and let it cool and put the elastic over that. Another thing that you can do to add some wonderful horror and dread to your Halloween games is to go out and play in a cemetery during the zombie apocalypse. Nothing spices up a game of Scrabble or Sorry or even something boring like Risk, like sitting in the middle of a cemetery while the living dead crawl out of their graves around you and attempt to feast on the flesh of you and your fellow friends. It's a great time, it's tremendously scary, and I really recommend it. So, everybody, your homework until the next episode of Not The Flog is to figure out where you would put your dick during the zombie apocalypse. If you don't have a dick, that's okay. Find someone who does and find out where you'll put their dick during the zombie apocalypse. Make sure you check your sources and footnote all your reports. Tabletop premieres on November 13th with Tokaido, and until then, play more games.